Hello all. Today is the 94th day of trial by attrition. And boy, how horrifically these days end up going. Transpiring. If you will give me but a moment to sloppily write down the relevant metadata for today's entry, which I have brutally butchered by accidentally foregoing my status quo of including the word day before the number. A most unfortunate common occurrence, but it has to be dealt with and borne. As you can probably tell, I have completely lost it. Hopefully some part of this is apparent in the cadence of my speech. But I think, honestly, everything today boils down to the simple fact that I woke up at 2:55 p.m. Because, dude, what the heck? I basically missed all of my classes. I missed every class except physics, of which I have 4 classes, none of them of which I would like to miss. And then afterwards, I don't know, I ate. I basically reviewed math. That's about it. And reviewed. What I missed in math. I will need to, unfortunately, go over it again. Because some part of it isn't sticking in my head when it should be and actually needs to be. But there's nothing I can do about that. Second day in and I'm already completely abandoning half of my classes and am very rapidly losing track in a third. I don't know what to say. It's so doomed for me. It's 12:30-ish, 12:40-ish right now. I don't quite recall, but I plan on heading to bed. Yeah, I don't know. Is there any other addendum I wish to append? Oh yeah, my writing is just of utterly shoddy quality. No matter the speed I write at, all of my letters are completely sloppy and misaligned and just negligent in quality. I don't know what other word to substitute for quality at the moment, because I'm sleepy, I'm tired, my brain is foggy as always. And I think we should just leave it here. Upset that I cannot practice my actually, you know what, I don't even care anymore. I have to. I just have to. Because, oh my goodness, this is legitimate misery-scape. It's like, I'm keenly disappointed with how everything has essentially regressed to how it was before I started this specific regime. And there's nothing I can do about it now. Because there's just no time, and I just have to settle for a suboptimal final product. It's like someone breaking their bone and then being unable to let it set because they have bills to pay. Because typical big core, this is at satire at this point, because typical big core refuses to offer paid sick leave or even sick leave whatsoever. And so they develop a permanent limp in their walk because their leg is bent more than a freaking bow for war. That's the ultimate demise of my writing. Because you can always blame yourself for not being built different enough. But that doesn't lead to conducive troubleshooting or change. Although I suppose railing against larger entities, uncontrollable ones, also is pretty much the exactly what railing against society is doing. So I just sit here and silently eat up the absolute poop that is excreted from the end of my pencil and just lick it all up with a plastered smile, while internally I am far beyond the stage of simple retching. But you know, I always complain like that. I always rant in such a matter. At this point, you are either desensitized to this, have muted me, or just have clicked away from this video. All three options for which I not only don't blame you, but full-heartedly commend you for taking decisive action to remove this imp of a yapper from off thy screen and spent your precious time elsewhere. I do apologize to those in worse situations than me for that seems to be ever so ubiquitous in this society. I am aware of my privilege, and I am grateful for what good it offers me. As grateful as I can be given my indolent dismissal of what quote-unquote positive exists within my existence. Enough bothersome talk. Let's talk about the letters. My letters have regressed into angles once again. Although they look from a large distance sometimes symmetrical, they very often are not. And even the most slightest of closing distance for inspection shows an utter dishevelment and decay. And what I have labored for these past few weeks. Now, there is some fault in that I did not devote all of my waking hours to perfecting this art, but that's not the grand plan in mind. It seems that I have no autonomy over what I can or can't improve. Because the only resource that can be made available to myself, time, flatly is one not within my privilege to yield. So we stay here. I need to figure out how precisely to not direct conversation to my woes, because at this point it's quite tiring. Perhaps it doesn't do to express explicitly the miseries that blatantly appear in front of naked eye, and dwell elsewhere, which I do not know how to do or what to talk about. I do not have a water bottle with me, and I need some sort of hydrating flask because I end up going to bed parched every night. Because the only times I drink anything are during meal times. A little silly of me, I am aware. But do not fret, for I do plan on trying to rectify this as soon as possible. And so, apologies for this place, but I needed to pause the recording. But I have resumed it, as well as this exercise. And after some brief playback, I have determined actually that my voice is being produced with a very constricted quality, affectation. This is an annoying habit that I probably should fix. But first to identify the source of this issue. This stems from my attempting to keep my volume low, as it is nighttime. So I try to minimize the disturbance I pose to neighbors. Which produces this very strained, hushed aspect in my muted voice. However, I am not entirely so closed off as to assume that my voice is not like this when I speak at a normal volume. So hopefully sometime I may find the opportunity to elucidate for myself such, to see if there's any potential improvements I may add to my speaking. I have never felt so woefully incompetent. I don't think what I'm doing is improving this in any way. But certainly attempting to improve will require focus. The intent to action has developed, the muscles have not. Pretty funny. Repetitive, but it never ceases to amuse me. It is always very sad. Let me retract that statement. It seems to me extraordinarily sad that a good portion of our lives entirely revolve around execution. Because apparently that's the only realm of improvement afforded to us. Very bland, uncreative life. The Seals. And I wish to break this cycle, but I know it to be untrue. I am just another cog in the wheel, produced to be better than its predecessors. Unable to dream beyond the disappointing smog. Apologies for the lack of pandering. Pandering's the wrong word. Lack of tracking with the camera. The space I am in currently does not lend itself too much to mobility of the arm, and also, again, the arm is injured. Not as an excuse, but as an explanation. The letter U seems to pose quite significant annoyance. The reason being that I'm not treating either side of the letter equally, leading to a chin that, in my opinion, does not belong on my U's. It is an erroneous affectation that doesn't interfere with functionality, but does interfere with aesthetic. Yet another instance of execution. Sad that execution must be learned before expression is possible. Surely I'm not the only one bothered by this, especially when there's so little time to execute, to learn to execute, let alone to execute. Oh my. Okay. Obviously, I don't write my W's like this, but this does build discipline, and I do believe it builds up the symmetry where it needs to be. Regardless, so I deem this superior to practice. Obviously, the best alternative would be to create a new language, but I don't know linguistics. I don't know how to create a competent language that I would be pleased with, and additionally, I think I struggle with linguistics in general, so. We are limited, and the only people who tote that there's beauty in limits are those who wish to shackle others to their own. To say, unfortunately, I cannot stay for much longer, so I will simply write each capital letter once to the best of my ability. before truly calling it a night. The ever-present problem of my E's and F's. That J almost ended very badly, but I think I recovered. My N-M's are consistent enough when drawn slowly enough. I have learned to start any of these sorts of letters with the starting stem somewhat lower, like so. So that the resulting final stem is under the control of the final curving stroke. Very painful. I grant a free rewrite. And it has been done. I will conjoin these two videos, concatenate them, and upload. Until next time. I wonder how to handle this. I do need to learn.